The NHL offseason is officially underway, and now that we've got the NHL draft out of the way, we've got free agent frenzy out of the way on July 1st, now it feels like we are officially in the NHL offseason. But before we get into the dark days of the NHL offseason, if you will, there's still some exciting stuff happening around the NHL. We've got development camps underway. We're starting to see a lot of the top end draft picks starting to show why they were drafted where they were. But there are still some big stories that you're going to have to keep a close eye on as we move fully into this NHL offseason, and we're going to talk about them in this video. The first one that we're going to be talking about is the whole Dylan Larkin story. Is Dylan Larkin going to be traded before opening night of the NHL season? That seems like one of the bigger topics as of late, and it's been relatively quiet on the Detroit front of things. Obviously, Dylan Larkin officially requested a trade out of Detroit. This wasn't just like a rumor that kind of snowballed into something bigger, kind of like the Zach Werenski thing was with Columbus. We know for a fact that Dylan Larkin did, in fact, request a trade. So it's all a big waiting game. And obviously, the three teams that are still heavily in the mix: Minnesota, Vegas, Florida. Those three teams are obviously the teams that no one wants to see Dylan Larkin go to, but that's the world that we live in the NHL right now. But I'll be honest, given what we saw with Florida and their trade for Brady Tkachuk, I think you can probably knock them off the list, meaning it's down to really Minnesota and Vegas. Unless we get a team that kind of comes out of nowhere, we know the Dallas Stars have been lightly rumored to be interested in Dylan Larkin, so maybe that's an avenue for a trade. We'll get to them later because they have a lot of stuff to worry about. But I'm genuinely just curious how long we're going to end up going for in the NHL offseason. How long is this whole Dylan Larkin thing going to take? Are we going to see him traded in the offseason or not? Could we see him start next season with the Detroit Red Wings? I have a hard time believing that that's going to be the case. I do think that he is going to be traded at some point. It's just a matter of when and to who. The next story to keep an eye on is the Connor Hellebuck situation. Connor Hellebuck in a different situation than Dylan Larkin. Hellebuck hasn't requested a trade, but given what we saw Winnipeg do in free agency, signing Stuart Skinner, I feel like it's only a matter of time before we see Connor Hellebuck possibly traded. And this one honestly surprised me. There have been a lot of talks about US born players playing up in Canada, and you can take that with what you will. But I always have felt like Winnipeg has genuinely treated Connor Hellebuck like a king, and rightfully so. He is one of the best goalies in the entire NHL, if not the best on some nights. So I am really curious to see how that all unfolds and who he's going to be going to. There's two teams that have been heavily rumored that are extremely interested in Connor Hellebuck, Buffalo and Carolina to be specific, and honestly, those teams would it would make a lot of sense for Buffalo to try to take a swing at Connor Hellebuck. We know that there was a rumored trade to be on the block at the NHL draft. Didn't end up happening. Not saying that something can't happen down the line, but I think Buffalo makes a tremendous amount of sense. You have an extremely good young team in front of you. You have a pretty solid defense core in front of what would be a world class goaltender. Now, Carolina, I never thought that that made a whole lot of sense. Obviously, I understand wanting to get a guy like Connor Hellebuck, but given what we saw Brandon Bussey do in the playoffs and in all regular season last year, honestly, I would just give him the keys and let him run with it. You've obviously still got Peter Kochetkov back there too as well. So it's not like Carolina doesn't have options. They have probably better options than Buffalo, I would say. And again, that's not saying that we don't have another team that kind of comes out of nowhere to try to get Connor Hellebuck. Again, different situation to the Dylan Larkin thing because Hellebuck never fully requested a trade out of Winnipeg yet. But again, I would be kind of surprised at this point if he does start the season with Winnipeg. And then we get the Dallas Stars, and Boy, oh boy, what a mess they have made. Obviously, the big talk is Jason Robertson. Is he going to be traded? Is he not going to be traded? It keeps changing pretty much every day. One day it sounds like they're still trying to re sign him, other days it sounds like they are heavily trying to still trade him. So that whole situation is just honestly getting kind of messy at this point. And we know that there was a deal on the table from Seattle. Jason Robertson rejected the trade. But what makes this even worse for Dallas is the whole Thomas Harley situation, because Thomas Harley's name was brought up in some trade rumors, and obviously you can imagine from a Thomas Harley standpoint, you can't be too happy about that. Thomas Harley just signed an 8-year deal wanting to stay in Dallas, and all of a sudden he hears his name in possible trade rumors, and again, I can't imagine that sitting too well with him. So, what's going to happen there? Are we going to see Thomas Harley possibly traded out of Dallas before Jason Robertson now? That whole situation is just gotten incredibly messy, and Dallas just is not doing themselves any favors. And this is coming from someone who does follow the Dallas Stars. Obviously, if you've watched these videos, and you can tell behind me, I'm a Pittsburgh Penguins fan first. Dallas, I would say, is my second favorite team. So I do follow Dallas, and I want to see Dallas do good. And seeing just how they are managing the whole Jason Robertson thing is getting a little frustrating. And now Thomas Harley is kind of in on the mix now, and his future's up in the air. And one thing that you may or may not know about me, I don't know if I've ever said this on this channel before, but I am also a massive Boston Celtics fan. And seeing the trade that they just made with Jaylen Brown going to the Philadelphia 76ers for Paul George and draft picks, I'm a little nervous as to what could happen next for Dallas. Because kind of a similar situation, if you want to think about it that way. Jaylen Brown has his name pop up in trade rumors. He doesn't like it. And it was kind of forced on the Celtics to trade him at that point. Could we see a similar situation with Thomas Harley? I don't really know. It wouldn't surprise me at this point, honestly. So there are a lot of things to keep a very close eye on in the NHL right now. And as we enter fully into the NHL offseason, those stories that I talked about are probably the biggest ones, unless something comes out of left field. A couple videos ago, I talked about how this could be one of the craziest NHL off seasons that we've had. So far, it's off to a pretty good start, and who knows what we could be getting next. So this is where I want to hear from you guys. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on everything that we talked about in this video, and let me know which story you are the most interested in. Are you more interested in Dylan Larkin, Connor Hellebuck, or the entire Dallas Stars situation? As always, don't forget to leave all of your thoughts and opinions down below in the comment section, and while you're down there, swing by the description and click the Linktree link. That is the only link in the description for a reason. That is because it will take you to all of the social media platforms for this channel. Currently, right now, we are only on Instagram and X, and I will say the Instagram page does get a little more tender love and care because that is how this entire page started in the first place. But if you do enjoy these videos and you're looking for some extra content, again, Linktree link in the description. It'll take you to wherever you want to go. So with all that said and done, that is going to do it for this video here. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit the like button. If you really enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button. Again, both are free, both really help out the channel a lot. And of course, if you have made it to this point of the video, I want to say thank you very, very much for taking the time out of your busy day to watch these videos here because it genuinely does mean the world to me. And as always, stay tuned for more hockey and jersey content coming in the future. We'll see you next time.